Hello, OT Marley here. Today I'm going to show you some ideas for putting together a busy box for your kids. These busy boxes are accessible bins with items designed to build skills that your kids can access independently and keep them occupied. These boxes can be any size and are filled with things you have around the house, and the items can be switched out often. First, we'll make a small box and I'll show you a couple different sizes and options you can put inside. So the first part of the busy box that I'm going to show you is this craft you can do with a piece of cardboard, any loose paper, glue, and tape. And it doesn't have to be clear tape. It could be duct tape or masking tape, any kind of tape. This paper, I think, was scrapbook paper that I had, but you can use magazine cutouts or book cutouts or coloring pages your kids did. Anything works. So the first step is to cut out this T shape. You'll want to make these three sides the same and then this one about double. And then you're going to fold it into a cube. And I left this one a little bit longer so I could have the overlap, but you can make it the same. And then like this. I didn't measure this cube, I just eyeballed it. You absolutely can measure, but you just need it to be a rough approximation. And then you'll take tape and secure all the sides. Now that you have your cube built, you can make this any size. This is just the size I chose so it could fit in our little box. Let's go ahead and select the paper you're going to use. I almost put together one that's kind of like the seasons here. We have like fall, spring, maybe summer, swimming, maybe the holiday season and Halloween. I also think it'd be really neat, and I might do this, is to get different textures that are nearby your home and then go collect those textures and put them on the outside of the box. And then it becomes activity to collect the textures and then also something that you can touch on the outside. It probably won't last as long doing that, but it would be very fun and interesting to do. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out sizes by tracing the side of the box, cutting them, and then gluing them onto the sides. I think this part of the activity would be really fun for kids to trace the lines with a pencil. I might give myself a little bit extra wiggle room around all of them, and my lines don't have to be perfect. I went ahead and repeated that process for all the rest of the paper, and I labeled it in pencil with 1, 2, all the way through 6 on the sides of the boxes, and then put corresponding numbers on the paper as I went. And I think that will be helpful for gluing on, and also could be a fun matching games for kids. So I'm going to use regular glue. You're welcome to use paste. Put just a little bit on, cover the whole thing, and then cover it with glue. I find when doing glue activities with kids, putting a little bit of paint or food coloring into the glue and shaking it, mixing it, it'll change the glue color, and then the kids can really tell how much they're putting on. I think for this activity, because it's white on brown, it's enough contrast, but often when kids do white on white, they'll put so much, and I think it's because it's hard to tell how much you're putting on when it's white on white. This doesn't have to lay perfectly flat. If you did a great job making sure it was flat before, then it might be better. And at the end, I'll go through and add more glue. So I'll go ahead and attach the rest of the sides. And there you have it. Here is my sensory busy box cube. If you were very creative, you could make it into a little box that opened and put other stuff inside of it. And I might cut it open once dried and do that as well. I wound up going with kind of the seasons look on the outside. I know it's not perfect, but I almost like to make things that are imperfect for children and show them that adults make things that aren't always perfect too. It's a good lesson, especially if you have a kid who varies little on the anxious side, to show them that imperfection is okay and that imperfection is fun and you can enjoy it just the same as something that was perfect. So the next part of the box I'm going to show you also uses cardboard, a piece of paper, and this time yarn. And in order to do it, you'll probably need some scissors. I'm probably going to use this X-Acto knife. And that's about it. We're going to make a little threading activity for kids. The paper and the yarn, whatever color combination you have or that you'd like to do, I would just make them very different. So I'm going to use a dark colored paper and a light colored yarn. It's more challenging if you use like a light colored paper and a light colored yarn. But if you use something that's really busy, that might also be more challenging. So it really depends on what your kid is going for. But I'm going to use this dark colored paper and this light color to give it a good contrast. So the first step will be to wrap your piece of cardboard in whatever paper you have. I have a little bit of a gap in the back, but again, I kind of like teaching kids imperfection. I'm going to use tape to secure the back. You're welcome to use glue for that step, especially if you want this to last a little longer. I think glue is more sturdy. I like to make kind of quick, easy crafts for these, so I can make them more often. They don't take me as much time, especially when I'm not worrying about it being absolutely perfect. So you have this. I'm thinking I might make this into a little pair of jeans and then put holes that you can lace up in the jeans. I also often will make like a shoe kind of shape and then have like dots across the shoe. And some kids just like the activity of lacing itself, and so I'll just put dots along. So to help myself out, I think I'm going to use this to give me some spots for the line, and then I'm going to use my X-Acto to make them more cut out. Go ahead and just make some dots. So there's all my holes, different shapes and sizes and distances. Give it a lot more challenge. So the next part is to take a piece of yarn and some kind of base for your yarn. I have an old piece of pasta I'm going to use. This rigatoni is going to serve well. If you have beads, I think that works really well. You also could just knot your pasta around itself many times. I'm going to tie a couple good knots. This is also a great part of the craft your kiddo can help with. Learning and practicing tying is really the best way to get really good at tying. And that contributes to tying shoes and dressing and lots of life tasks we do. So you'll start coming in from the back and going through. One way to make this easier on your kid, if they're having a really hard time with lacing, is to make a little end like we have on shoelaces here, just using tape, placing it on the end, wrapping it around itself a few times. So I'll do that here. Make it easier on myself. And it's more like the real world tasks that we do every day. So I'm going to start on coming in from the back on one of these corners, pulling it all the way through so that pasta makes a base. And then your craft is ready for your kid to do. They can practice threading through every hole back and forth. They could make patterns. I've seen this done many ways. I've also seen this done, or I've done it myself, using fabric instead of cardboard and just doing little slots around it. You can use like a piece of foam or kind of thicker material to do that. But this threading activity is really good. Another way to make it a little easier for your kids is to use a shorter piece of string. You can use just like a few short pieces of strings and a few bases in the back, if everyone had one. I may secure down this pasta by wrapping this little end around so it doesn't wiggle so much. I think that will make it a little better too. There are many, many ways to do this, and surprisingly, most kids that I've given it to are so into it. They love threading in this way, especially even with something very simple like this that's not overly designed, but the like shoe shape, or you could make like a ballet slipper shape is quite the hit. There you go. The next busy box thing I'm going to show you is a couple ways to use old bubble bottles. So this one's set up, it's pretty simple. You take your lid and you cut out either with scissors or an X-Acto knife the size and shape of a penny, and then you collect some pennies and you have yourself a little piggy bank. Even if you had creative little kids, they could paint this and make it really cute. Kids, I find, love bottles and they love reusing these, and they'll sit and do this over and over, unscrew, do it again. You could fill it with pennies if you have an old coin jar around. I've seen kids make a set of them for each type of coin. You can have so that they'll only each fit inside of one. So the dime would have a smaller slot and the quarter a bigger one. This is a craft that's less independent and needs some good supervision, especially if your kid is prone to put things into their mouth. But I definitely would suggest this one, and I put it in almost any busy box. The next idea for a busy box using bottles is very similar. Instead of cutting a slot like this, you'd cut a circular slot, and then you fill up your bubble bottle with pom-poms. You can use big pom-poms, and then you don't even necessarily need to cut the top because they'll fit right in, and then you can use little ones. You can also use cotton balls for this activity, but you want to get it very, very full. And then the activity is them taking out all of these, getting them all out, and then they push them back through a smaller hole, and it takes more time. And if you want to make this interactive with you, you can. Often I encourage parents to like hold the pom-poms and give one at a time to encourage their kids to ask, like, can I please have another? It's just a really great skill. I think this is a little more accessible for little guys because these getting put in your mouth isn't nearly as much as a hazard as pennies are. This next activity may have some things that you don't have around your house that it requires, but a lot of people do have popsicle sticks, and if not, you can usually get them in like a set of 100 for $1. They're not that expensive, and they're sold basically everywhere. These are plain popsicle sticks, and they're pretty big in size. I like the little colorful ones a lot. You can also paint these and decorate these in such a variety of ways. There's a lot of things to look up in making crafts for popsicle sticks. The way I'm going to show you how to use them is using some Velcro that I have, and you basically put a soft end and a sticky end on either side, and then they can use them to stack on top of each other, alternating, and you can make all kinds of really fun shapes. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so I'm going to take my Velcro, got the scratchy side and the soft side that stick together, and then both have a peel and stick. They come in all kinds. I've also seen like the little circular kinds that I think work really well for this. So I'm going to take this, measure out approximately how much I need, and cut off that with scissors. And I'm going to cut them into small cubes, each about this big, and then stick them on. So it'll be soft on one side and scratchy on the other side. I usually store these inside the busy box stuck together because then it just becomes an activity of taking them apart as your first step of the activity when kids want to play with them. And then they stay together a little more neatly. So that would be my go-tos for a little busy box as a starter. Go ahead and keep a lid on it. This bubble bottle has a little bit of a bump, so I'd have to rearrange to get them all in. But if you have a different size Tupperware, you can always finagle things in. That's just a go-to. Lots of things to consider and to take in and out, and it'll last different amounts of times. I've seen some parents and some classrooms that use these put in a couple different busy boxes in the room, all stacked together in little matching Tupperware, and then when the kid asks for them, they give them a different one. And that way that they're never getting the exact same things, and you even could like mix in and out the different ones from different containers to keep a lot of variety. If you want to see more ideas to add to your busy box part 2, like and comment this video and let us know that that's what you want to see.